A neighbor in Pride, Louisiana once whispered that if you stopped by Donna Douglas's house late at night, you might glimpse the glow of a single table lamp through the picture window, illuminating her as she thumbed through scripture or read a stack of letters from adoring fans. This was long after she became beloved as Elly May Clampett. It was a subtle scene in an unremarkable little suburb, yet it said so much. Here was a woman famous for living large on a fictional Beverly Hills estate, quietly cherishing a humble, homey life far from the Hollywood glitz she'd once known. Those who witnessed that glow often left with a sense that her real treasures were found in gentle routines, heartfelt gestures, and personal sanctuaries. In that single beam of lamplight, you could see the real Donna Douglas, a woman whose private realms told a far richer story than any TV rerun ever could. Donna was born Doris Smith in 1932. Raised on the outskirts of Baton Rouge, she grew up with Louisiana swamp breezes in her hair and the Sunday church choir in her ears. She spoke softly about how a childhood spent amid winding bayous shaped her sense of wonder. She didn't come from money. She understood the virtue of thrift early on. Yet there was also a spark within her that loved the glamour of dressing up, playing make-believe, and entertaining folks with a heartfelt smile. That blend of down-home roots and starry-eyed ambition later guided her approach to owning and designing homes. She never saw a property as just an address. It was an expression of her faith, optimism, and the sweet simplicity she valued above all else. Before the world knew her as Elly May, she packed up her small-town hopes and arrived in New York City, a culture shock that shook her to the core. While she pursued modeling and small TV roles, she lived in a cramped studio apartment on the Upper East Side. The building itself wasn't remarkable: a time-worn brick facade, a weathered fire escape, and a front stoop that echoed with late-night footsteps. But to Donna, this tiny space was a treasured cocoon. She placed fresh daisies in a jar by the window, fluffed the second-hand couch pillows meticulously, and kept homemade crocheted blankets folded at the foot of her bed. Even then, she tried to infuse a bit of southern warmth into that chilly city environment. To onlookers, it might have been just another shoebox apartment, but for Donna, it was a testament to determination, a place where every night she read devotionals, praying for a bigger break, all while trusting that good things happen to those who keep hope alive. When stardom finally arrived via the Beverly Hillbillies in the early 1960s, Donna moved west, landing in the heart of Los Angeles. At first, she rented a modest bungalow in Studio City. That little bungalow, with its distinctive lemon tree in the backyard, became her personal refuge while she was filming. The living room was bathed in sunlight by day, owing to the wide windows that faced the yard. Donna once remarked to a friend that she chose that specific property for the feeling it gave her as soon as she walked in. A combination of soft breezes, sweet citrus scent, and the hush of a neighborhood that reminded her of home. She was a rising star, but she didn't chase the palatial mansions many of her co-stars embraced. Instead, she wanted comfort and quiet, a place to nurture her gentler side, away from the demanding sets. Of course, fame has a way of upending even the best-laid plans. After the Beverly Hillbillies became a nationwide phenomenon, the offers for bigger houses and glitzier locations started pouring in. Agents and managers advised her to build a brand and invest in a showy estate. She did eventually upgrade to a more spacious house in Toluca Lake, a classic ranch-style home from the 1950s with a sprawling front lawn. The structure itself had a low-pitched roof, wide eaves, and stone accents around the porch. It was unassuming compared to the grandiose Hollywood Hills mansions of the era, but it still offered more room for entertaining. Walking inside that Toluca Lake property, you might have been surprised by the decor. Rather than sleek mid-century modern lines or the lavish gold touches popular among celebrities, Donna favored soft pastels and floral prints. The sofa in the living room was upholstered in a rose pattern. Crocheted doilies protected the armrests. Lace curtains caught the morning sun, casting delicate patterns on the carpet. Instead of high-end art, she hung framed Bible verses on the walls alongside photos of family gatherings back in Louisiana. A visitor once described the house as a corner of the Deep South transplanted to Los Angeles. Friends of Donna said it was impossible to step through the front door without feeling an immediate sense of calm, and she liked it that way. She wanted her home to feel like a friend's hug. But here's a little-known twist. Behind that sweet southern veneer lay an industrious mind. Donna poured time and money into upgrading the property's insulation, roofing, and foundation. She joked that in Louisiana you learn to respect the weather, so she felt compelled to sturdy up her California residence against earthquakes or storms. She personally oversaw each step of the process, reading manuals and consulting with contractors in detail. One of them later recalled how Donna's combination of kindness and steely determination made her a dream client. She'd greet you at the door offering sweet tea and cookies, then ask 100 questions about structural integrity, he reminisced. The subtle irony was that in her frilly apron and pastel dresses, she was thoroughly hands-on with the nitty-gritty of home improvement. During her years filming in L.A., Donna hosted small gatherings at the Toluca Lake House. Despite her rising star power, these get-togethers rarely resembled the raucous Hollywood parties you might expect. Instead, she preferred Sunday brunches with a few co-stars, close friends, or out-of-town cousins, waffles stacked high, fresh fruit bowls, and a pot of chicory coffee from back home were the staples. People would find themselves lingering well into the afternoon, lulled by her gentle drawl and the breezes that drifted in from the yard. Max Baer Jr., who played Jethro, was said to be a frequent attendee, occasionally showing up with fresh flowers or a newly adopted stray animal in tow, understanding her soft spot for critters. That fondness for animals hinted at a bigger dream Donna harbored. If Elly May was known for her menagerie of creatures on the show, Donna carried that spirit into her real life. She often quipped that if she weren't acting, she'd be running a farm sanctuary. After the Beverly Hillbillies ended, she found the time to bring this vision to life, at least partially, by purchasing a piece of property back in Louisiana. She wanted to be closer to her family, so she found a tract of land near Zachary, not too far from where she'd grown up. This new home would become her real sanctuary. Driving up to this Louisiana property, you'd be greeted by a long gravel driveway, flanked by tall pines. The main house was built in a southern colonial style. A wide porch ran the length of the front, held up by stately columns, and the exterior was painted in a warm shade of cream. There was no towering gate or manicured hedge, just a split-rail fence marking the property line. It was the kind of place you'd imagine hosting a barn dance or a family reunion. Neighbors described it as the friendliest-looking house around, a perfect backdrop for the honeyed glow of late-afternoon sunsets. Donna wasted no time making it her own. She added a screened-in back porch for year-round enjoyment of the Louisiana weather. Potted geraniums and ferns lined the porch, while a pair of rocking chairs, one painted white, the other pale pink, provided simple comfort. On more than one occasion, people recalled seeing Donna reading her Bible or writing letters while swaying gently in a rocker, the hum of cicadas providing nature's soundtrack. Visitors said the interior was, again, a reflection of her quiet faith and love for cozy tradition. Light blue walls in the living room, gingham curtains in the kitchen, and an old-fashioned wood stove that still functioned despite the central air. Her affection for animals took physical shape in the backyard, where she built a small enclosure for rescued dogs and cats, plus a modest barn that housed goats, a donkey, and a couple of miniature horses. It wasn't a sprawling ranch, but she gave each creature ample room to roam. She even had a custom sign made, Elly May's Critter Corner, though she hung it discreetly at the side of the barn to avoid making a public spectacle. She was playful about the reference to her famous role, but she never wanted her home to turn into a tourist attraction. Friends say she'd head out there in the morning dressed in rubber boots and jeans to feed and check on her animals before heading back inside to tidy up or practice her singing. She often joked that life was all about switching from boots to heels and back again. Curiously, while her Louisiana home radiated warmth and openness, Donna also maintained a discreet apartment in West Hollywood for when she traveled. This smaller dwelling stood in stark contrast to her Louisiana estate. It was a sleek, high-rise condo with a view of the city skyline, an interesting departure from her usual taste. She didn't fill it with floral prints or crocheted blankets, but instead let the clean lines and modern fixtures speak for themselves. A glass coffee table dominated the living area, and large sliding doors led to a compact balcony. She did hang a few personal photographs, one of her with Buddy Ebsen, another with Irene Ryan, but most of her knickknacks stayed in Louisiana. This condo served as a functional space rather than a heartfelt dwelling. You might say it was her base camp for career obligations, a place to rest her head when she had meetings, auditions, or fan conventions in town. But here's the twist that few know. She chose this modern condo in part because of its serene, chapel-like meditation room on the ground floor, designed for tenants seeking quiet reflection. Donna often remarked that it felt comforting to have a spiritual retreat just an elevator ride away. She used that room for prayer and journaling when the bustle of LA threatened to overwhelm her. She didn't advertise it. She never even told most of her Hollywood acquaintances. Yet one or two neighbors recalled glimpsing her alone in the softly lit space, eyes closed, hands folded. It was a quiet testament to the fact that no matter where she went, she carried her grounding faith. In comparing these properties, the unassuming bungalow in Studio City, the Southern Colonial House in Louisiana, and the polished West Hollywood condo, you see the evolution of Donna's life. Early on, she pursued a safe haven while chasing a dream. Then, with success, she returned to her roots, building a nurturing environment filled with animals, family, and her spiritual pursuits. And finally, she accepted the practicality of maintaining a foothold in the city, though never losing sight of who she really was. Each home functioned as a snapshot of her changing mindset, from hopeful young actress to firmly grounded star who found her ultimate contentment away from Tinseltown's glare. Donna's personality seeped into every corner of her properties. In Louisiana, her kitchen was the heart of the home, a lively space with checkered floors, a large oak table, and the sweet, constant aroma of baked goods. She adored preparing biscuits and cornbread from scratch, calling upon recipes passed down from her grandmother. It was her joy to serve up warm plates to visitors, accompanied by an easy laugh and stories about how she once sneaked real animals onto the Beverly Hillbillies set as her personal companions. The kitchen was perhaps where Donna felt most in control, stirring, mixing, measuring, all while singing hymns under her breath. If you asked her, she'd say you can't put on airs when you're elbow deep in flour. It was a grounding ritual that kept her connected to everyday life. Contrast that with her closet in West Hollywood. There, you'd find a curated collection of elegant gowns and tailored suits, what she needed for industry events. The space was compact but well organized, with clear plastic garment bags and labeled boxes for shoes and accessories. Rumor has it, she had a small secret compartment in the back wall where she stored sentimental items. Love letters from early sweethearts, a few pieces of fan mail that touched her heart, and a tattered stuffed animal she'd had since childhood. She never confirmed the compartment's existence in interviews, but a friend let slip that Donna treated it like a time capsule, proof that the glitz of Hollywood was only one facet of her life, and that, at her core, she was still that sweet Louisiana girl dreaming big dreams. Those who visited her Louisiana sanctuary sometimes reported sightings of unexpected guests, a wandering deer that found refuge near her barn, or a lost dog that became part of her growing brood. Donna had an almost magnetic pull for creatures needing care. She also attracted a variety of Hollywood friends seeking a break from showbiz stress. One anecdote recounts how Nancy Culp came by one summer and ended up staying a whole week. Nancy, who had a reputation for being more uptight, found Donna's breezy, welcoming environment too soothing to leave. They spent evenings on the porch, sipping sweet tea, swapping behind-the-scenes stories, and listening to the night chorus of frogs and crickets. It was a reunion, not in the sense of a fancy event, but a true connection between two women who'd shared an iconic TV experience. This was how Donna liked to entertain, not with extravagance, but with open arms and an unhurried schedule. One lesser-known tale from Donna's time in Toluca Lake involves a hidden root cellar that existed beneath the property. Originally built decades before, it was rumored to house preserved foods during wartime. Donna discovered this small underground room during renovations and became oddly fascinated by it. Rather than sealing it off, she refurbished it with sturdy shelving. She didn't stock it with typical Hollywood valuables, but with homemade jams, pickled vegetables, and extra water, just in case. A curious statement in the land of movie moguls, but pure Donna. She sometimes joked that if the Hillbillies ever ended up broke, at least she'd have enough canned peaches to last her a while. Close friends saw this practical streak as a genuine reflection of her humble upbringing. She believed in always being prepared, never fully trusting the fragile illusions of stardom. As she aged, Donna spent increasing amounts of time in Louisiana, pulling back from the public eye. There, her routine was simple: mornings feeding the animals, afternoons hosting Bible study groups or volunteering at local charities, and evenings reading by the fireplace or calling friends from her Hollywood days to check on them. She occasionally flew to LA for fan conventions or cameo appearances, but each time she seemed all the more relieved to return home to her quiet porch and the gentle rustle of Spanish moss overhead. The gossip mill churned out a few tidbits over the years, stories about how she might secretly be wealthier than people realized, or how she'd turned away from the world of show business after an ugly contract dispute. In truth, Donna always had an uncomplicated relationship with money. She was savvy enough to invest properly, but lived modestly, pouring her resources into her home and philanthropic pursuits rather than flashy possessions. As for show business, she never disowned it. She simply recognized that the applause and glamour weren't essential to her happiness. If anything, her real estate choices revealed an unwavering desire to root herself in love and spirituality, rather than remain adrift in an industry driven by vanity. Interestingly, though she rarely flaunted it, Donna's Louisiana house had a hidden feature that delighted local kids: a small attic nook lovingly transformed into a storytime loft. She filled it with cushions, stuffed animals, and child-friendly books, many of them faith-based or illustrated fables. Neighborhood children came by on Sundays for read-aloud sessions, and Donna, with her comforting voice and warm smile, would bring these tales to life. She insisted the loft remain a secret hideaway, instructing the children to refer to it as their personal cloud in the sky. Adults found the idea charming, a testament to how Donna never lost that innate sweetness that made Elly May so beloved. In her final years, as Donna battled health issues, the house in Louisiana became her ultimate refuge. Family members and close friends took turns staying, ensuring she wasn't alone. They described those days as marked by a profound serenity. Donna insisted on making the most of each sunrise, seated in her rocker on the back porch, often wrapped in a shawl. Even in moments of pain, she found a nurturing solace in the cyclical beauty of nature, the chirping birds, the smell of fresh dew, the gentle braying of a rescued donkey in the yard. One morning, when a dear friend asked if she missed Hollywood, Donna answered simply, "This was always my Hollywood, where I can see God's hand in every leaf and blade of grass." It was a quiet declaration that her sense of success wasn't anchored in cameras or studios, but in the eternal rhythms of a simpler life. When Donna passed in 2015, the Louisiana house was briefly in the spotlight as fans and reporters tried to glean insight into the woman behind Elly May. Photographs circulated, revealing a cozy interior lined with sentimental knickknacks, carefully chosen furniture, and worn Bibles stacked in her reading corner. Family members, protective of her privacy, offered only glimpses. They wanted people to remember her for the kindness she showed and the sweetness in her heart, not the real estate details. Still, curiosity lingered. People wanted to know if the rescue animals remained, if the porch still held the memory of her gentle rocking, if the storytime loft kept the echoes of children's laughter. The intangible impression was that her spirit continued to inhabit those walls, radiating a quiet goodness. What do these homes teach us about Donna Douglas? Maybe that the grandest mansions or the flashiest decor never wooed her heart. She found her sanctuary in places that embraced simplicity and exuded warmth. Whether it was a shabby studio in New York or a refined Southern colonial in Louisiana, her real estate choices mirrored her unwavering desire for authenticity. She believed a home should comfort the soul, extend a welcome hand, and foster gratitude each day. In Toluca Lake, she built a nest that balanced the demands of fame with the anchor of domestic harmony. In West Hollywood, she allowed herself the practicality of a convenient crash pad, all the while reserving a space for spiritual reflection. And in Louisiana, she crafted the fullest expression of her being, a place that blended faith, family, animals, and nature into one tapestry of belonging. If some celebrities see a house as a stage for high-profile gatherings, Donna viewed hers as a sanctuary for gentleness. If others used real estate as a flashy sign of status, she used it as a statement of values. Her secret nooks, her root cellar stocked with homemade jams, her attic loft for children, these were all acts of devotion to a quieter, more meaningful existence. Friends often say that even in her final days, if you stepped into her living room, you'd sense an invisible hush descend upon you. It was as if the house itself invited you to slow down, tune out the noise of the world, and find solace in the small things. And that's all for today's video. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up, let us know your thoughts in the comments section, and subscribe so you won't miss out on future uploads. See you next time.